Hi there, everyone. It's good to be back. We begin a new book of the Torah this week, Sefer Shemot. At the very beginning of Sefer Shemot, we are given a list of all the names of the sons of Yaakov, which, if you've been paying attention to the previous book of Bereshit, you would hopefully already know that. So the obvious question that jumps out at us right away is sort of what are all these names doing here at the beginning? And the midrash we're going to look at tonight is actually going to focus. We're going to look at today. Really focuses on the order of the names as they appear in the Torah. Furthermore, I want to add to this discussion before I read the midrash that immediately after telling us about the 12 tribes and that the brothers, that generation, all had passed away, we're then told immediately there was a new Pharaoh in town, there was a new king, and this new Pharaoh immediately goes to work on how to figure out how to deal with the Jewish people, because he says that they are increasing and multiplying and they are becoming too great, and this is terrifying him, and they feel that they are a threat to the Egyptian people. And this is really puzzling if you just stop and think about it before getting into any Midrashim, Perushim, commentators out there. There were 70 people amongst the children of Israel who joined, when Yaakov went down. There were 70 of them a part of this nation. And suddenly they're greater than the Egyptians? That's kind of hard to believe on a mathematical level, that really would have happened. So what does it mean when this new Pharaoh is deeply concerned about the growth of the Jewish people and the threat of the Jewish people? So let's keep that all in mind. Let's read this midrash again. You can always feel free to click on the link to the Sefaria source sheet, and you can follow along that way as well. I'm going to read the bolded parts of the midrash. The rest of the midrash is there for you to enjoy on your own time. Amar Rabbi Yehoshua de Sichnin b'shem Rabbi Levi. Rabbi Yehoshua of Sichnin, the town of Sichnin, quoted the following in the name of Rabbi Levi. Ein shmotein shel shvatim shavim b'chol makom, ela pa'amim shezeh makdim lazeh v'zeh makdim lazeh. That the names of the tribes, when they appear in the Torah in various places, don't always have the same order. For example, there's actually a slightly different order to the tribes when they are listed in the amongst the 70 that came down to Egypt in Sefer Bereshit that I just alluded to. There's a slightly different order if you take a look there than what you see appear at the beginning of Sefer Shemot. And presumably, if you look at other places in Torah where all the tribes are mentioned together, the order is not exactly the same. So, what do we learn from this? The Midrash asks, "V'lama kain?" Why is this so? That the order is not always consistent. Shelo yomru b'nei gvirot tchila u'bnei hashpachot achronim, so that no one should say, they shouldn't say, that the children of Yaakov's wives, Rachel and Leah, are greater than, are superior to, the children of the shvachot, the children of the maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah. Ulamedcha shelo hayu gedolim elu me'elu. No one is greater than anyone else. All 12 of these tribes are equal in terms of their status, and nobody can claim superiority over the other. This is the first interpretation of the first answer to the question of the order of the names and the changing order of the names. Is to teach us that they're all on the same level. Nobody is greater than anyone else. The Midrash continues, I believe, presumably continuing in quoting Rabbi Levi, Davar acher, another way to look at this whole puzzle. Lama makdim elu. Why are certain names before other names? Like, why is, what do we learn from this jumbled order throughout the Torah? Lefi shehein tikratan shel olam. Because the brothers really represent the roof of the world. Now, I'm not a roofer, and I don't pretend that I know how to construct a roof. I don't. I believe what we're about to see is probably some ancient way of constructing a roof. I don't know if modern day roofers would use such a technique, but remember, this was written a long time ago. So we're going to go with ancient roofing technology right now. How do you make a roof? V'hametakein tikra karoi, notein avya shel tikra zo, b'tzad rosha shel acheret she'ena shaveh. How do you make a roof, at least in ancient times? You would take a beam, imagine like a 2x4, and you put one beam down, like where it's going on the width, it's thicker, and the other, and it's right next to a beam that is on its head, so it's thinner, like the other side of the the other side of the, not the other side of the 2x4, but if imagine a 2x4 is sort of standing up as opposed to laying flat. So one looks thinner, one is thicker, one stands up a little more, one is a little bit lower. They're not equal. They're not equal in height. They're not equal in width, in the way that they are constructed. And as you're looking at them, obviously, two 2x4s are equal, but they are placed differently. Lefichach maktim elu le'elu. That's why sometimes in lists one is mentioned, before this one, because this one represents, the beam that's vertical, has a greater height, and this one is thicker, it's greater horizontally, and this is why the order is sometimes as it is. The Midrash concludes by saying, how do we know that the brothers are the roof of the world? Shnei Shema Eli Yaakov Yisrael. Listen to me, Yaakov and Yisrael. Mikora'i, who are my called ones. But Mikora'i also sounds a little bit like the word tikra, like the word roof. That's a cute way to, and so the sons of Yaakov are the roof of the world. What does that mean? What do we do with these two parts of the Midrash? So I want to suggest, going back to that question about what was bothering Pharaoh, how come suddenly the Jewish people are a problem? They're expanding too much. How could that be that they were outnumbering the Egyptians at that point? But what he saw was that the Jewish people had a unique characteristic, perhaps unlike the Egyptians. They were there for each other. They didn't see each other as different. They were obviously different. They're different families, but they saw themselves as part of a unified group. Why? Because I think this is what Rabbi Levi was getting at. Shelo hayu gedolim elu me'elu. Neither one saw the other one as superior or inferior. We're all in this together. We're all going to go through this period together, and hopefully we'll get back to the land of Israel. And Pharaoh must have seen this. And that's what worried him, that they are so united, they're so together, it's really hard to break them up. Furthermore, what makes them really special is that they have different strengths. Some, when you're constructing a roof that's going to cover over the whole group, some are like the horizontally thick beams, and some are the vertical beams, and you need to have one next to the other, and they're not exactly the same. They're not shaveh. They're not equal. But by putting themselves together, they are able to protect themselves. They're able to sustain, and that gives them a lot of strength, even if they don't have strength in numbers, in literal numbers. Their unity was what scared Pharaoh, and he knew he needed to deal with it. Because if he felt like, if I let this go, they will not maybe become more numerous than us, but their unity will make them feel like they are in control here in Egypt, like they rule this place. And I believe that this might be the reason why all these names are mentioned here at the beginning. It's to teach us how unified they were, how together they were, how they were not splintered like they were when they threw Yosef in the pit. They were now together. And they were going to go through the experience of not being in the land of Israel together. And Pharaoh said, I can't take any chances with this. This looks too scary to me. And unfortunately, this has been the blueprint oftentimes of anti-Semitism, of claiming that the Jews stick to themselves and they only have each other's back, and that's a talk for another time. But I think this Pharaoh certainly noticed this, and I believe that the Midrash here is subtly hinting to this, that the unique characteristic of the Jewish people, as they are going through the beginning stages of this of their avdut, of their servitude, is their ability to stay together and to stay united. And this characteristic really helps them not be broken also by the servitude in Egypt that would last for so many years. You would think that when you're under pressure, you'll crack and you'll turn against each other. And that is really not what happened here. The Jewish people did stick together. And this wonderful characteristic is something we should continue to hold on to stick together with our brothers and sisters in the Jewish community. Not just those also, by the way, in the Orthodox Jewish community, all Jews, we should see ourselves as a part of that big family, to be there for each other and to help each other. Have a great week.